Police say it was murder staged like side of a millionaire by his own son. 30-year-old Thomas Gilbert Jr. has been charged with murdering his hedge fund founding father, Thomas Gilbert Sr., with a bullet to the head.
On January 4th, 2015, Shelley heard a knock on their front door. She was confused. She definitely had not been expecting any visitors, but when she opened the door, she saw none other than her son, Tommy, standing there. He hadn't seen or really talked to either of his parents in quite a while. They had been completely out of contact. But as a mother, Shelley didn't care why he was there. She was just so happy to see him. So she invited him in, and she asked for updates about his life. She asked how things were going. She was giving him all of the motherly attention that she hadn't been able to give him for such a long time, but he cut their conversation short. And he told his mom that the whole reason he was there is he wanted to talk to his dad privately about business. Now that almost made her even happier than the visit itself, because she thought, okay, great, Tommy was finally gonna get his act together, just like she and Thomas Sr. had been hoping for. And like, let me go get your dad, you guys can talk. Shelley was smiling ear to ear at this point, and she was in such a good mood. And when Tommy asked her, hey, could you go get me a sandwich and a Coke from a place down the street, she didn't even hesitate. He could have asked anything of her in that moment and she would have done it. She was just over the moon. She was elated. So she grabbed her purse. She's like, yes, honey, I'll go get you a sandwich. I'll be right back. Like, talk to your dad. I'm so happy for you. She threw her shoes on and she was out the door. But pretty much as soon as she started walking down the street, she started having reservations. Tommy and Thomas Sr. had in the past had their fair share of heated arguments, and she was always the buffer between them. However, now if she was gone and if another fight broke out, she wasn't sure what was going to happen. So after she had some mental, back and forth, she decided that getting back home and finding a way to keep the peace was more important than buying Tommy a sandwich. So Shelley headed back home, but as soon as she opened the door, she knew that something was wrong. It was quiet, too quiet. There were no arguments happening, but there also wasn't any casual chatting happening either. It was just dead silence, and that alone made her sick to her stomach. Neither Tommy nor Thomas Sr. answered when she called out their names, and it was enough to really freak Shelley out. So finally, as she's looking through the house trying to find her husband and her son, she finally made it to the bedroom. And when she got there, she found Thomas Sr. unresponsive on the floor, but Tommy, her son, was nowhere to be found. Now, at first, she kind of kicked herself, telling herself that she should have known that this would happen, that they would have argued, and she wasn't there to be the buffer. Because clearly, while she was out of the house, Thomas and Tommy must have gotten into a fight, and Tommy must have punched his dad hard enough that it knocked him down onto the ground. She shouldn't have ever left them alone together. She knew them both too well. She was really feeling guilty about this. But then, as Shelley got closer, she realized that Thomas Sr. hadn't just been punched and hit the ground. He had a gun in his hand, and he had a bullet-sized hole in his head.